Pelton Project consists of the Round Dam, the Pelton Dam, and the Pelton Re-Regulating Dam. The 20-mile-long system is situated on the Deschutes River, bordering the Warm Springs Reservation between the cities of Culver and Warm Springs. Today, the Pelton Dam and its two counterparts generate 1.5 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity annually, enough to power a city the size of Salem. The Pelton Project also provides a valuable source of revenue for the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, through land usage settlements and the sale of energy. The surrounding Central Oregon wilderness makes this picturesque setting look peaceful, but the legal history of the Pelton Project was turbulent and complex.
This project was initially identified as a tower site reserve by the federal government. That was done way back in time, and it was done at the request of the president to identify what areas have potential for generating energy. I think it was recognized early on that identifying those locations would be important for a number of reasons, because it became very apparent energy was going to be a very vital component to the economy.
The Pelton Project was initially proposed by Northwest Power Supply, but by 1950 Portland General Electric took control.
Portland General Electric came along in the early 1950s and looked at this site. And if you look at the geology of the canyons here, you can recognize that, you know, the river that flows through it has the characteristics of building a hydro plant.
Almost immediately after the proposition of the project, PGE faced opposition in constructing the dam from many sources. The Federal Power Commission granted PGE a federal permit to proceed with the construction of the project, but the Oregon Hydroelectric Commission denied the company a similar permit, due to concerns that a dam system would strip the Deschutes River of its navigability, and that it would hamper the migration of Deschutes River fish. In 1954, the state of Oregon also filed a petition in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that invalidated the Federal Power Commission's authority over the Deschutes River. But the jurisdiction of the Deschutes River fell under the Land Usage Treaty with the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. The case of FPC versus Oregon eventually went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. In the end, none of the attempts to stop PGE were successful, because the Supreme Court ruled, in reference to the FPC, that, quote, "The Commission acted within its powers and its discretion in granting the license."
Pelton versus Oregon case is a pretty landmark case that sets a tone for how states across the nation look at what it is and how it is states can influence licensing projects through a federal process.
The next step for PGE was to obtain an easement with the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs regarding usage of the Deschutes River. The company approached the tribes, recognizing that the construction of the Pelton Project would have a significant impact on tribal lands.
The overarching, I think, paramount issue that was really being looked at from the tribal members' perspective was what is going to happen to the fish. The fish is, the salmon is a very important staple in not only in the culture but in the actual lives and diet of our people here. So it was a very big issue with regards to what is going to be done to manage the impact that this project causes on the fish. And consequently, as a result of that, a fish system was put in to address the passage around the project.
At the time of its construction, the 3-mile Pelton Dam fish ladder was the longest of its kind. The system worked well at first, but after construction of the Round Butte Dam in 1964, the system began to fail due to awkward water flows created by the new dam. To compensate, the Round Butte Fish Hatchery was installed soon after, and has been successfully maintaining regular fish migration patterns ever since. The Tribal Council, with promise from PGE that the fish wouldn't be affected, agreed to allow the project to be built, with annual rent repayments from PGE. For this reason, the Pelton Project has been a valuable source of revenue for the Confederated Tribes.
The relicensing process that transpired over the course of about 15 years, starting in 1995, the Tribal Council recognized that the federal government issues licenses to private developers to utilize the resource for energy generation. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission issued Portland General Electric a 50-year license. That license expired in 2001. Okay? About 1995, the Tribal Council had instructed us to start working with Portland General Electric about what structure would be in place post the new license. And there were several meetings and discussions with Portland General about that, and through the course of those years, the tribes and Portland General Electric ended up forming a partnership. And the partnership is to the Pelton Project a unique partnership that recognizes there's economic value that this project brings, and that economic value can be shared. And it can be shared in that the tribes as a landowner and a entity that has an impact as a result of the project coming in, and Portland General Electric as a result of the need for the energy that goes into the Willamette Valley for their customers, felt that we could potentially go to court arguing who should own this facility on the new license, or we could sit down and negotiate a partnership.
Today, the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs own the hydroelectric turbine in the re-regulating dam. The energy generated by this turbine is sold directly back to PGE for use in the Willamette Valley. This is another way that the Pelton Project has brought in revenue for the tribes.
The Pelton Project operates on what's called a peaking schedule. The two dams upstream around Butte and Pelton generate energy during the highest demand periods of the day. And when they do that, they fill the re-reg reservoir, which is the last reservoir in the complex of three that fills during the course of those peak hours. At the end of those peak hours, usually 11 o'clock at night, the reservoir to re-reg is full, and that reservoir is drained with the re-reg generator maintaining that lower river flow. Then again at 7 o'clock in the morning, everybody gets up, you start the water heater because people jump in the showers, the stoves come on, and, the energy levels start increasing. We fire Pelton back up, and fire Round Butte back up, and we start generating on that higher demand period. So the system cannot generate more energy than what the system needs at any given time. So the value behind a hydro facility is your fuel source, which is water, has the capability of reacting to those load changes very quickly without any real significant impact to the generating structure. So you're able to ramp and move load very quickly, and you're able to store that fuel source, which is the hydro, the water, without significantly impacting the lower river. You have something that becomes very valuable. And that's really what this project brings to the system, is that ability to respond to quick load changes when needed, and also to serve energy when the highest demand period is calling for energy to be used.
The construction of the Pelton Project was indeed a significant event in history. It has defined how states can influence licensing projects through federal processes, and it will continue to have an impact on the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs for many years to come. And today, although its history was complicated, the project is a monument to partnership. From the Pelton Project, we should learn that society can benefit from union and compromise.